Make it so I can hear maybe a thing. We'll do that. Remind you to grab some like MP4s for your
I noticed that none of you guys have these cute little uh, profile borders, profile trims. I got this great little profile pic trim as a part of my Discord Wrapped this year. They gave me a little Christmas present.
Nice.
Everybody should check out Discord Wrapped. It is the season of Wrapped as well. So we're going to be talking about goal setting and tools that use goal setting and how to become a really great software engineer in 2026.
I wonder what that could be. But yeah, let's see. All right, interrupt you. Yours is cool. Yours is very cool, Baco. Yes, welcome everybody to the meetup. And in fact, I should put. Oh, did you hit the thingies with the stuff? What up, Brad? Let's call it. I'm assuming that the buttons are hit. All quiet on the AI front. True.
We should introduce our speaker.
We should.
We have Delaney here. Hey, Delaney. Gonna say hi.
Hi, how you doing?
So we met thanks to one of my bots, which met you, and then we got to have a great call, and we spent 2 hours on the call nerding out about all kinds of very interesting tools.
Very interesting.
Cloud
True.
AI automation. So safe to say, Delaney is definitely one of us. But you gave me an incredible demo, which I think you're going to give us later. Usually we go through the news for a little bit first, but do you want to introduce yourself and tell people about your background?
Yeah, sure. My name is Delaney. I'm a software developer in the UK, but I currently live in Estonia right now. I've been doing that for the last 7 years. Basically started off in .NET, moved to Ruby, and I've been doing AI programming since probably. Well, I started off with Ada, and then I've moved from Ada to Claude Code. So about the last 4 years. Yeah.
Nice.
Real OG. And you were telling me as well, Estonia actually is like quite a hotbed of innovation at the moment for this kind of stuff.
It is, yes. It's actually it's basically the European version of Silicon Valley. So this is where most of all of the startup activities mostly happening around here, especially in the Baltics, happens in Estonia. So this is where we got Skype, Bolt, Pipedrive. All of them came from this small little tiny country. It's amazing, really.
Bolt, really? Oh yeah. Actually, in Estonia, that reminds me. There's a team called Team GPT. I actually got them in touch with some venture studio or another. It went really well. They seemed pretty talented. Seemed to be some cracked folks over there. It's pretty dope.
We refer to this all as vibe coding. So yeah, they're all at it here.
I love it. Love to see it. Well, yeah, I figured I wanted to do a quick check-in on. We had last week. We had a little. What did you get done this week? I know I checked in with you, Kev, and then you, Baco. Is there anybody else that said that they were going to do something that they wanted to let us know how it went? I forget. I need to start writing those people down. But Al's output is doubled. True.
At least doubled. I think I built 3 full-fledged things that are working and generating results this week, which is kind of nuts.
Yeah, I think we have a good. That's a very good basis for any news we want to touch on. Let's see. Do we have? I think it was just you two, Baco and Kev. Brad, did you have anything that you were working on this week that you wanted to that you had either wanted some visibility or accountability on? If so, feel free. If not, I don't know if you're at the desk or not. It's all good. But it sounds like we're in good shape. So I would be inclined to say, yeah, Delaney, I'm curious as to, yeah, sweet. Yeah, we'll give you a little slot at the end, Kev. That sounds good. I'm curious as to kind of what it is that you do in general. I heard something about like kind of an org you're affiliated with over there, and then I read a little bit of what you guys talked about, and there's some very intriguing stuff that also happens to be quite topical. So feel free to jump in with intro to what you do or your little thing that you did, and I'll let you share that to wherever.
Okay, so is this in reference to Agent C?
Yeah, I mean, love to see agency. Also, I've been going deep on superpowers since you showed me on Monday, so that would also be
Okay.
interesting. But yeah, anything you want to share. I also have a superpowers demo that I've been working on as well. I finally got my own agent running, which has been pretty cool. Really powerful tool though.
Yeah, superpowers, but you've kind of implied in the notes that I actually said that well, that I invented it. I didn't. What I did is I've taken it and I've extended it. Just wanted to
Oh,
clear that up
Interesting.
straight away.
Yeah, I was just mentioning. I was looking at. Do you know the other one kind of that are in that category, like Super Claude, or like there's another one that's like the Claude Node, Claude Swarm, Claude Flow. That's what it is.
Yeah, Claw Flow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So you took one of those
yeah,
guys and
okay,
modded
all
them
right.
out.
I did, yeah, because it was it's the basis of it is it's actually really good. So what I wanted to do was to implement the next do done loop, which I'll explain um, is what agency is. And I thought that instead of actually reinventing the wheel, it was best just to start off a good base,
Nice.
and that's when I based it off superpowers.
I like it. Yeah, yeah. I have. I think there's a lot of ways to kind of think about that loop. So I'm quite curious what you felt was a solid basis on it, and then where you took it from there. So yeah, feel free to. There's a little button at the bottom of the screen. I don't know if you share in Discord much, but feel free to share your screen whenever you got her pulled up.
Yeah, I was just setting up a directory. Just give me two
Oh
seconds.
yeah, no
Uh,
worries. Well, yeah.
You said that
Mm.
loop is next, do, done in that order,
yeah,
and then we
yes.
loop back to the beginning of next.
Yes, and I'll explain how I got here as well, which is very quickly. So let's just do tribe AI. Hold on, just sorting this out now. Just a minute.
This reminds me of two things that I won't explain now, and I'll let you go first, and then I'll explain them after. One being the cat prompt MD do while Ralph loop, if you will, and then research plan implement are my two things that are coming to mind. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, then I'm quite intrigued to see what we have here.
We love
Okay,
talking about.
cool.
I am saying words,
Okay.
yes, I often do that.
Oh wow, hold on, just give me literally 2 seconds.
No worries.
There's a
Discord screen sharing is a pain.
Yeah, we
We've been
can.
here.
That's why we got us. So me and Al are both loudmouths, so we can buy as much time as you need. You're good.
okay.
The one that I guess to touch on the news, which is I think where we'll head afterward. Gemini 3 Flash today. I'm actually going to upgrade our scoring model to Flash to kind of give them the little run through. But 78% on SWE bench for a Flash model, 50 cents per million tokens, which is kind of lit.
That is incredible.
Also, fun fact: how many of you guys, if you're Claude Code people, use the hashtag to edit Claude memories?
I do sometimes. I'm kind of lazy. I tell Claude usually to update its own memories, which is easier.
And in fact, that is all you can do now. They have removed the hashtag.
Oh, well, yeah, it was a dumb feature anyway. So
exactly. There you go. Yeah. So yeah. At FYI, what you could? Yeah, Kev, I'm telling you, you got to jump on the. You got to at least play around a little bit with the Claude Code train. They're shipping really fast. Bump it up. They bump up the cost of windsurf with my token use, and it makes more. Yeah. I use them, but I am a. My stack has sort of become like windsurf when I need to know something about the code base, opus to plan to change something about the code base, and then opus deploys codex with 5.2 to actually implement the plan. is generally my I want to maximize the available VC money being spent on my tokens. It's my current strat. But the
Okay.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, perfect, beautiful segue, boys.
I'm just checking now. Yes. Okay.
I love it.
Okay. Cool. All right, and I can now share my screen, which is share screen. Let me know when you can see it.
There we go. All right. I have your Discord window on my screen, if that's what you're trying to share.
No, I was trying to share my...
or rather, that could have either been your screen or it could have been just the window. I didn't... I just saw a Discord on it. So if you were trying to share your entire screen, you were sharing the one with the Discord window on it.
Okay, so maybe it should be... Let me know when you can see Claude.
Yeah, if you pick Claude specifically, then that will give us Claude, and it'll give us Claude with music, but Claude doesn't have any music. But yes, a fine art sharing Discord. Let's see.
Claude has music.
But dude, Factory added a beep, and it's so annoying. I hate it. All right. Yes, I see a Claude.
Okay.
Haptic feedback seems like a big win.
Yeah,
hopefully no.
Is interesting.
Sorry, Delaney, please go ahead. Mm-hmm. Agent C. So this demo, when you showed me this, it kind of blew my mind because there was a combination of things happening in the background, which is what I'm usually trying to get to happen, which is lots of things happening in the background. And then also, you seemed to be integrated into the flow in a really smooth way that seemed to optimize your focus as well.
Yeah. Okay. So, a bit of back history. I suffer from overload, so I was looking for a way to basically reduce the cognitive load when I was actually programming. So I came up with this idea when it comes to Claude, whereby when you're normally doing an automation, what tends to happen is that you're the person who's organizing, and then you are then launching agents as and when you need them as part of your process. So then I started thinking about it, and I came up with the idea to invert that process so that instead of me orchestrating, I became an orchestrated agent within the same workflow. So how this system actually works is, if I'm going to show you and it will work, is I will create a number of North Stars, which are general visions where I would like to go, plus I'm going to generate some goals. And what it's going to do is when it actually starts, when I do next, it's going to load in all of the goals that I'm actually working on. And then it's going to derive the next task and only single task that I need to do to unlock all of the next action to finish, to get to all the goals done and finish the North Stars. So I become an agent within in the workflow, like any other agent, with special capabilities. And if time goes on, what will tend to happen is it will start suggesting skills and capabilities that it needs that I can then build as skills and then replace myself in the workflow. So from the very start, you have an automated process which it works through, and then will hand over things to me that it can't do, and then ask me to automate them. If that makes sense.
That makes excellent sense. I love it.
I think the key component being because you're an agent in this flow, you're also constantly in flow, and you have a list of things to do. Which
yes,
when I saw that I was blown. That's the best way to think about doing this stuff properly.
Yeah. If I may, I will drop an excerpt into chat of exactly this that I think it is what you're hitting on. But yeah, continue.
It's holding things in text files at the moment, so I'm just loading up a North Star now. So yeah, okay. I really wanted to do a blank example, but unfortunately, I've got what I have at the moment, which is this is a pronunciation app that I'm working on for the Vietnam education system, which allows them to basically provide English lessons. So I'm trying to build a new feature right now where I'm using this flow. So let's say I wanted to do something like lessons. What I'd do is I'd create a new North Star. So let's pretend one thing that's right. So let's say we say we'll do a new North Star. Add lesson management as an example. So now a North Star is not a goal, it's just basically a vision of where I would like to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's the one thing nice about this lesson management? It should follow. So this is where it's hooked into superpowers, because this is actually brainstorming.
Mm-hmm.
It should. Pupil. I'm being very vague at the moment, but I just wanted to get a demonstration of it.
Ooh, okay, we got intent seeking here, huh? Is
interesting constraint.
Is that dynamic, or is that like a form fill?
Say that again, sorry?
Like the why that over everything else, is that something that the model decided to tell you, or that is part of the skill?
Yeah, this is okay. So one of the things I want to say is it becomes incredibly conversational. I've noticed, and it actually tries to basically get a real good understanding. So I didn't prompt it to do these questions. I just gave it an overall view about what it needs to find. Okay, so this is all like coming from Claude. It's trying to get a good understanding of the problem.
Got it. So you gave it like a shape, and it's filling in the words here, kind of thing.
Correct. It's correcting. Yeah. Right. So because.
Now the question is Claude a good shape rotator? My suspicion being yes.
Opus particularly is definitely a good shape rotator.
Yeah.
So while he's filling this up, I did this yesterday for a BD bot using GitHub scraping. And this bot is now autonomously writing my emails to people by indexing over their GitHub profiles, because I got the first bot to write an agent that now is learning from that process. Just continuously improving the agent prompts seems to do the trick, which is pretty incredible. Because I think, as you said, it's about the intent seeking component.
Yeah. I think so. The general principle here being like, okay, there's some kind of loop where if you engage in it, you get software out. Question is, what do we need from the human and what do we need from the machine in that loop, and how many loops do we need? And I think one of the things that the machines should seek from the human is the human's intent.
Correct. Yes, and it's trying to clarify that. That would have gone on in a loop until I clicked done, but it will just keep. Well, this I could have said finished, but basically what it's trying to do is get a good picture of the actual project as it possibly can. So if I said yes, this does, and I just cut it off because I want to get past this stage, but it will just keep asking you questions until it has a fuller vision of what you're trying to achieve. And it will go forever.
Nice. Okay, so
Okay.
We've got intent discovery, and then we've got ticket creation, yeah?
Yeah. So now this is where it. So what the situation is now is it's basically got its overall North Star. So now I'm going to add a goal. So let's say I'm going to say add agency, add goal, add UI to handle to allow user lesson management. Now, when you start adding goals, what it actually does is it uses a technique called Whoop, which is a goal setting approach, which first works out where you are, which is your current state. Then it says your wish, where you'd like to get to. and it's going to ask me two separate things, which is my obstacles and my desired outcome, which should be my acceptance criteria for what this should look like when it's finished.
Interesting. Are these like high level
So you mentioned,
fuzzy? Are these like high level fuzzy? Like I think this is gonna go wrong, or like I know this is a concrete blocker type stuff.
yeah, it can be maybe I'm answering the right question, but yeah, it can be as detailed as you want to do it. Like for instance, you mentioned UI lesson management. What should the pupil be able to specifically? Like so, you'll find that create a lesson, lesson plan, a lesson. I wish I'd had a blank example, but I'm going to have to use something I'm working on, unfortunately.
Yeah, let me. If you
Um,
need me to cut anything out after or whatever, feel free to let me know. But yeah, if you
yeah,
got
okay.
OSS lying around, then yeah, grab one of those and let it rip.
Yeah, yeah. So it's now asking me like, what are acceptance criteria? How will you know when it's done? So just for argument's sake, I'm just going to just say, just take all of those as read, right? So let's say I've said these are my acceptance criteria. Because the fun part starts once I finish this. Right, what's the obstacle? See, now it's asking me what things might get in the way of potentially achieving this. So let's say we'll just take those as read. So no database setup, unclear data model, and authentication. Uh, Not applicable for now, I would just say. But it's just trying to get a fuller picture of what I'm.
Hmm.
Right, it's asking me what should I do if no database exists,
Mm-hmm.
what should I do? And now it's asking me for a deadline. So let's say today.
I have found that when working with models, I really dislike when they try to give deadlines because they're always like, "Oh, this is 2 weeks worth of human labor work," and I'm like, "I don't have humans, buddy."
Correct. What a fantastic point. Okay, so there is something built into this which I think will yeah. Okay, so I'm going to approve this goal, but which directly addresses what you just said there because it really does give you ridiculous timescales. Some stuff will take. It says it's going to take 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and it does it in like 30 minutes. So um, let me get my first task up, and I'm going to explain a couple of things that will make sense. So what it's doing now is just writing out the goal. Now, yeah, so the goal's been created. Okay, so from this point onwards now,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing that I will be doing will be next, do, or done. Okay, so if I type next now, it's going to go away and it's going to first, what it's doing now is it loads in all of the goals and it's trying to work out the next task that it needs to take.
Mm-hmm.
It will then do all of the tasks itself in parallel. And if it can do it, it will start doing it itself. And it's going to unearth a human task that it needs my help with. If it doesn't have a human task, it's just going to complete the work based on the North Star and the goal and the vision. But let's say I had four goals, what it would, okay, perfect, and I'll explain.
Mm.
Okay, a lot of information here.
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, so there's no human task to be done. So review, new, confirm it was good, status in progress, no AI task running. Active goal analysis. So it's actually, as I've seen, it's actually looked across the analysis of all those goals. The human task is in progress. It's entirely within clause capabilities. No human capability required. Let me check if there's an obstacle.
Hmm.
So basically, there's nothing for me to do. If there was something for me to do, it would ask me to do that particular
Okay,
task.
so you're like giving it the unclear data model because you're worried that it might screw that up, but then when it's going to do prep work for the task, it's like, okay, this is going to be the data model, and so you can confirm during this kind of pre-flight as to whether you're going to be in good shape, kind of thing.
Yeah. When I was speaking to Alex just today, the joke is, let's say it has five goals that it's working across. It basically loads the goals in and then finds the one task, and it will tell you what tasks these things relate to.
Mm.
But it literally could be telling me to, but I don't know. But I don't know what task it's going to give me. So it could be given a task that is completely unrelated. So it could be trying to unlock itself from the from its confines. I don't know. But yeah, all right, okay. So for instance, task 1. And here's the interesting thing as well that's relevant. Okay, so what I've done is built into the system is a time management system, which is called, and it says, imagine it like, so one block is effectively 8 minutes. And what it actually does is it actually tracks blocks in 8-minute intervals. This is how it gets more accurate with its estimation. So let me just see. Ready? Just tell me the fields you want. Yeah, and I'll build everything. So right now, this is a good example of where it should be telling me. Sorry. Right. Okay. Yeah. This is so I'm a bit embarrassed. A bit nervous. Sorry. Hold on. Okay. All right. So agent. Okay.
I get painfully nervous every time I do anything live, and I started pre-recording because they always break. So you're good. You are among friends here. You're good. Yes.
Anyway, this has been an experiment that I've been doing anyway, but it has worked. It's been working really well, but I still have to go back to traditional methods. But anyway, yeah.
Well, and I think the kind of essence of experimentation is really important if you're at the frontier where we're running around trying to figure out what it is these things are going to do.
Yeah. Just a minute. Okay, so yes to accept the data model. And then it should go up and it should do that. Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, all right. Here it's starting a timer.
Oh, nice.
Okay, and it basically works in 8-minute blocks. So if it's less than 8 minutes, it's one block. If it's 8 minutes or more, it's just basically 2 blocks, that kind of thing. And it keeps track of how long these tasks take. So at the end, I can give you some level of accuracy within 8 minutes about how long the whole project took, or how long a particular task took. So from that, it works out a velocity. So eventually you'll be able to ask it, how long will something take to do? And it will give you an estimate in, say, so many blocks. And because a block always equals 8 minutes, it will start telling you more accurate depictions of like, this will take 2 days or this will take an hour.
Yeah.
But that's all built into this, yeah.
No, Agent of the Void brings up a good point of bite time, and there's another person. I really got to start pinging Mike before these because I wanted him the last 2 weeks, but it's funny that you call it a block, as a couple other folks here are kind of headed in that same direction. Might have thought about putting those blocks into a chain and perhaps, I don't know, doing something sequential with them, if you will.
There is a
I've heard tell that can be useful. You know, I don't know. Hopefully, there's no doggy coins involved, but we'll see.
One thing that came to mind as I was watching you configuring this, Delaney, is that the way that you're doing this is also very context light, because you're getting confirmation. This is why I put the yin yang GIF in. The yin yang to me is like there's like this opposition thing. So what you're getting is the agent is thinking just hard enough to then ask you a question so that it can get the answer to it, which then enriches the question that it asked you. And once it goes down this path for long enough, you have like kind of a kernel of context that should be like almost as minimal as possible. Do you think that affects, like, how does this perform in terms of like minimizing context bloat and like context garbage?
Yeah, I should have started with the caveats. So because I'm only building very small, I'm building very small pieces. I'm building a lot of MVPs, very small pieces. From my point of view, the lack of context isn't an issue. If I was building a bigger application, like I will be soon, I'll probably see how that's affected. But right now, it doesn't seem to not have enough to get the task done, if that gets me. Because the idea is it pulls forward, works out all of the milestones it actually has to reach to get from where it is now to where it needs to be, and then only surfaces a task. So it doesn't seem to get confused. I guess if I was building something bigger, then it would probably I'll probably start seeing those issues then. I guess.
At the same time, though, the way that you're setting this up actually lends itself to subagent flows. When I was trying this out yesterday with
There you go.
superpowers,
There you
I
go.
threw a bunch of subagents in the mix, and it was like loading the subagent with this review process in front of it means that the subagent always has the right amount of information, but never more than it needs. Which seems like very token minimal to me. That is what got me really excited about watching this, like the interview process, at least just now.
Yeah. It's like a case in point, actually, it's just kicked off the feature code reviewer, which I didn't tell it to do. All I've told it now is, so it's run the tests.
We love to see the TDD refactor clause. Well done. Well done. I approve.
But the general idea is unless I need it, it will just carry on. It won't stop. It just basically just carries on doing its thing until it needs me to do something. And you mentioned earlier the new coding that's built into Claude Code Desktop.
Yes, yeah.
So one of the cool things with this is if I push this into Git and GitHub, I can actually just take that on the road with me on the phone and just basically just do next. So you get that for free.
Yeah.
So I don't actually have to sit at my desk. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the mobile workflow. Right now, I think my primary mobile workhorse is like Cursor and Linear, but they're both kind of clunky. So we'll see who kind of wins that fight. But yeah, I feel like the background agents thing are really good for cases like that, where it's like, oh, I got a couple seconds. Oh, I had an idea. Like, let me kick off like 3 or 4 versions of this and go pick them up later.
And this is it. And this is my life now. I just basically sit here waiting for it to tell me I do what I need to do next.
I love it.
And if it isn't, it will sit there spinning up other agents as it needs. Over time, it does start. If there's a manual process that I do enough, I have a journal function. So I have a journal function.
We love a journal function.
Yeah, so I just basically tell it things. So if I tell it, oh, that worked well, that didn't, eventually it will suggest capabilities. And so I say, well, I've done that 2 or 3 times. It will start suggesting capabilities that I need to add. And that's it. So it also should tell me at the end what it needs to do. So task complete. Oh, right.
Yes. Tell us about milk.
So I'll tell you about, okay, so this is something that I also added recently, which is called milk quality. Okay, so the idea behind this is that you would write different levels of quality of code depending on your context. So if you were building a piece of software for an investor on Monday, you probably would write it differently if you were building it for, say, code that you were going to live your life on. So what it does is I've created this concept of milk quality where it has happy case tests are always written. So for a skimmed quality, happy case tests are always written. For semi-skimmed, happy case tests plus the essential sad case tests are written. And then for full fat, it's basically happy, sad, and the essential mad case testing, which gives you the type quality. So by doing that, or allowing it to have that that setting, what you can actually do, if I do, I can actually tell it the quality of code that it actually writes. So it will only write the happy case test, which is what it's actually saying here now. And that's why it hasn't gone into these sad and there's no logging required, because it's only done the basic level of code that it needed to do. So it kind of solves this problem where Claude writes a ton of code that is not needed in the context of for the time that you're actually working on. So that's actually working quite well.
You're skipping that like extra fat, which is all the documentation tests, like anything that's not needed for like an MVP test. And then once you get the MVP, then you can kind of iterate and go back and refill it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Very cool.
I think
that one was really funny. I really like the visual of higher quality and lower quality milk. You know, fat.
Yeah, it's actually the things that come to mind there are the thing that's occurring to me here that's interesting here is we're doing semantic compression. rather than elaborating as to what form factor our TDD procedure should be taking and re-articulating that every time. We have interposed a shared representation between you and the model, which is this like how unspoiled does this milk need to be? And we can just say like make the milk less spoiled, and it knows what you mean.
Yeah, and actually that's picked up. Well, actually that's actually because it's defaulted to semi-skimmed, and that's actually perfect. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Yeah.
So now you have.
So it's not like I'm constantly.
Yeah, well, you have a compressed representation that's shared between you and Claude that you can stick in as a normally critical part of the loop where you would normally have to go, okay, what test cases do I need? Do I really need to do? You can just go, okay, what does the milk look like? And then just like immediately kick the loop back off again as soon as you're done communicating, which is
should do, and it should find all it should, and every time I run next, it should look at it first looks at the code because that's where you are now. Mm-hmm. Then it looks across all of the goals, and then finds that task. And the reason I keep repeating that is because I could never hold all of that in my head. Mm-hmm. All right, so I could never hold that context in my head. So there's a couple of really cool benefits that come from this. Like for instance, if I put this project down and I come back and I type next, it basically just carries on from where it was, which is the first one.
I like it.
And the second one is that as they increase the speed of the models, I get a more intelligent tool. Every 6 months they change them or something like that. I can rerun next on the same project, and then Claude just uses its intelligence again to basically reboot the project. And last one, as I said, to relevant. So if I then come back to this and I said, okay, well, we need to upgrade it now to full fat, it will go through reading all of the code again on its own, and then basically add in these extra tests for me, as you were saying earlier. So, but I don't have to have all of this stuff in my head. The only thing I need to concentrate on is this.
And one more question about the subagents. You mentioned there are subagents. When I was playing with Superpowers, I ended up with a lot of subagents. So I had my tribe CLI up, and I was watching on tribe like all of the subagents streaming out and just disappearing and doing all kinds of things. How are you managing the subagent personas here? Are they like, did you pre-code a few of them, or is the agent actually autonomously creating these subagents and prompting them in the background? How's that?
The agents, they're actually being subagents got some. Basically, they're being controlled by Claude. I don't actually control them. I don't actually.
Anything in there. Is it just learning over time what the appropriate way to do that is? Though?
It is, yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is the big headline this week was Opus 4.5 is basically AGI, and this seems to be getting very close.
Yeah. Well,
listen. I mean, it's not. I guess, as I said, but moving forward, the only thing I'm going to be doing after I've set my goals is just literally just doing, and now it's asking me for the next task. And it's, as you see, it's what it's done is it says, okay, this is the task, telling me what the estimated it now is 2 blocks. So it's telling me the task complete. Sorry. It's telling me where it is against the milestone. It's telling me what my current velocity is, so I can work out what my 11 points, how many points. It's basically the agile estimation procedure. Sure. And it's just telling me where I am. So, and then now it's just next again. And that's it. And that's what I will have to do until it's finished all of its milestones. And then I should be checking it as it goes along. But if it needs any other agents at this point, it will spin them up and it will run them. So that's the workflow. So I'm just basically an agent within the workflow, effectively.
This seems so much less error prone than having a bunch of humans trying to write code together.
And this is, as you said, this one here is 100% Claude executable. So I will have nothing to do. So it will just do it.
And so the question is, if you want to do it with humans, what is it? Why is it much more efficient to do it this way? And then if you wanted to do it with other humans, what would you need? How would you need to adjust your process? Would be the, I guess, like open question. I feel like.
I mean, I know exactly what would happen if we tried to do this inside tribe, which is that I would tell it a bunch of things that you didn't know that I told it, and then we would both be yelling at each other like 2 days later.
Yeah. Uh, okay, so but that's a really good point actually, because remember the caveat for this was that I'm interested in a one man. This is a one man workflow. The idea was to automate my process so I could be one of the first people to have a one man company uh, doing all the work. So I have no idea how this would work in a team setting. I'm going to find out in January because we're going to be working. I'm going to be working side by side with a colleague of mine on the same project. So he's going to have his workflow. I'm going to have my workflow, and we're going to see then how it actually interacts across across teams. But as a one man workflow, for me it's absolutely perfect because I don't really have to think about much.
Beautiful.
Um,
I have
Yeah, I was
hypothesis
getting
on what you're
try.
getting into. Yeah, I think.
I'm very interested in context management across these kinds of tools because what I actually want to see is I want to see all the things that Yikes told it and all the things that I told it, and then I want to be able to delete the things that Yikes told it and tell it to focus on the things that I told it to see if it doesn't work. Like
Perfect.
purely from like a competitive urge standpoint,
yeah,
right? I want to know which one of us actually told it to do the right thing. Um, it's like the next generation of Git blame. It's like prompt blame, you know?
He thinks I write
PH.
prompts. How silly.
Or feedback blame, though. You know, you want to know which input is actually causing it. Because then you can also do things like sanitizing inputs then as well, which is kind of helpful. So you can start to automate the process of weighting different inputs and testing how to interpret different inputs in different situations.
Indeed, I
I would say
think.
most successful businesses run on that principle. It's like, which person in the room do we trust? We know we have a room full of trustworthy people, but who do we trust right now with this particular problem?
Indeed, and this is what you will run into with. I just posted a little graphic into the chat, which if you're a nerd specifically about UX and not UI, you might recognize. But this is it's a diagram of the or the best one I could find to try to illustrate the concept that I think would be the one that causes problems when you introduce another human. And it sort of touches on the thing that where you're able to, which I very much like, by the way, able to just get back in there and then hit next and immediately pick up where you left off. I know that's something that I struggle with a lot, so I have various ways to mitigate that. But just like show up, open the thing, slash next to get you like right back in there is really nice. And the yeah, so I think so the loop that you're doing with Claude, I think, in order, obviously you have goals, right? So the idea is
yes,
you need to surface the human's intent. So like let us pretend rather than a human doing this loop, there is a human and a Claude doing this loop together. So Claude
Mhm.
needs to figure out what the intention is for the interaction. Claude needs to figure out what the sequence of actions is, which the human needs to not spend time doing. Then Claude needs to execute. Then Claude needs to perceive. But the thing Claude perceives is where humans can't trust it. So humans need to interpret the perception of Claude such that they can evaluate the interpretations and figure out if it has reached the goal. The problem is, the problem would be, I think, is if you and another person are both adding goals to the goal pile, then
yeah,
while you're doing this loop, you need to figure out a way where you never bump into each other or you never have goals that are like
contradictory.
yeah, that are
Yeah,
unresolvably conflicting. If they are resolvable,
yeah,
then you can just pause a loop with a Claude by sticking the knowledge into the world and letting
Mhm.
Claude pick it back up when it's ready. But if there
Mhm.
is an actual conflict between those goals, then that's what you need to resolve between the humans.
Wouldn't that be just another context of these like human tasks, right? Because what you end up with then is like if you say something conflicting about something that I kicked off, then the agent comes back to me and it's like, hey, Yikes is trying to screw with your context here, um, and then I can give my feedback, and then you can give your feedback. It's like mediated, you know.
Yeah, the idea is to make sure that all of the humans are maximally aware of what all of the goals are and that they all agree that the goals are not contradictory to one another. If that's true, then all you need to do is keep the agents on the rails while they do this loop for you. Seems very
Or at least
important to me. It's intentionally it's a zoom in on like the physical action of doing something like that is looking at a thing and grabbing it. That's just like a breakdown of what happens when in like the brain, the experience of the user experience of look at a thing, grab it, and then maybe pull out your wallet and pay money for it. Is the the field of study thereof. But this is the component breakdown of what one is trying to elicit. Usually the goal is the goal that you're trying to elicit from the user would be some sort of like feeling of satisfaction or accomplishment, et cetera, because they were able to like get to this goal in a way that used your thing to help them do that, which is like, this is the thing that they want to do. You do though, Kev. You really need to. I was saying it the other, or yeah, I've been terminally UX brained for the last I don't know, several years, but also this week. And a lot of it is thinking about like, okay, if you are a solo dev, if you're just making something for you, then that's great and that's fine. If you want to make it so other people also get to like do stuff with it, then thinking about like, okay, what goals are they going to have and how can I design my thing I'm designing for them so that they can like have the same feelings I have when I feel good when I use this thing, essentially. Hardest part is to learn to work with other people. True. Yeah. So these are the human things, which I think is a great segue to a couple of things I found this week. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on, Delaney, over on the on this side?
No.
Sick.
No. It's fine. It's just, as I said, I mean, it's about as uneventful as that, really. Basically, it's just a case of do next review. Sometimes it surfaces up stuff to me where I have to check or add keys or something like that. But most of the time, it just chugs away on its own. And then I check at the end and then reconfigure just by telling it another goal if it doesn't do what I want. But that's basically my workflow. I don't actually. So that's why when I think it was you that asked me about prompting. I don't really prompt like I used to.
I have a rule. It's don't let the meat talk to the chrome god made of sand that comes out when you spit a bunch of Reddit into as many GPUs as you can humanly fit on the electric grid. Probably that one's going to do better.
But yeah, it's been a pleasure to demonstrate it. No one else has seen.
Yeah,
I really appreciate the demo. Please stick around for the news segment. This is kind of the fun part. Just go through what's going on. I'll get to guys. And yeah, come back anytime. I'd love to see any more demos in the future.
Yes, please. I definitely want to hear more. Yeah, actually, while we're here, since we'll do a little bit at the end, is there anything that you want to get done this week with that project that you'd like to come back next week and for us to hassle you but lovingly about whether you did it or not?
Well, there is a couple of things actually. We've just finished this thing called Consilience, which is our code auto check-in tool. So I need to get that. It's been renamed from Auto Poop.
I remember seeing that in the slightly better name. Slightly better. I don't know. I would buy Auto Poop, honestly. I would pay money for Auto Poop. Absolutely.
So so this is actually just our code checking tool, which obviously once we've done the work, this is the one that basically goes through and checks our PR. So I'd love to basically have this finished off and integrated. So that was something interesting because this actually picks up quite so much, but it's literally only just been this one's been properly finished. I should have some actual data on like how this process has worked on a larger project as well in a couple of weeks' time, working with more than one person. So I should be able to explain what the data is.
All right. So data collection for you as the passive, and then you want to make some kind of improvement to Consilience is what we should see how you're doing on next week. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but If anyone wants to have a play with agency, please reach out. I can. It's actually done as a plugin, so I can just share you the um.
I do really want to try that. I also want to try benchmarking how the sub agents are running and their context management, because I think that's going to be a really interesting threshold for token use.
So yeah,
Yeah.
sub agent
So I can.
context management is really weird lately for me. I don't know.
So I'll share this in the chat, but you can actually just use it from this repository.
Yeah, drop it in chat and we'll pick it up and put it in the show notes. That sounds awesome.
And it's got some explanations about how it works as well. Yeah, but it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
I've never.
Yeah, I've got a couple of if you on Discord, if you stop the share, then I will share our little check-in on the week's happenings. But yeah, if anybody feels like I don't know, coming up or yapping or saying anything, feel free to request, and I will happily jump you up. Or you can jump up yourself. What up, Kevin? How you doing?
What up?
Living the dream. Okay, let's see. Is this the one we want? I think we do. We got Agent. We got Michael. I totally forget your name, Agent. Agent of the Void. What's her name? I forget. She has one. Feel free to share it if you wish. But I remember who you are from our lovely little safety adventure. That went really well, didn't it?
Yeah, that was cool.
Kev, were you there?
I like that workflow. Oh no.
Okay, I got you.
Just now.
Yeah. What'd you like about it?
Well, just it definitely speaks to the way that I code too. You know, it's like I'm not really worried about other people. Like it's my project. You know, and like I could just see it. There's some features for that numbers game I could see, like having it Socratically take me through. Just letting it go off on
intent discovery. What is your intent behind rare numbers, Kevin?
I don't know, dude. It started out as a
Claude
joke.
Make it shit postier. That's what we want.
We got one guy that's got 5 million points right now. He's got me working on it.
I love it, dude. I love it. That's amazing. Let me make sure this is actually going on stream here real quick, which I'll probably need to use this lovely operating system that I love a lot. And I'm assuming that this is probably, let me scroll this a little. Oh my gosh. Window Manager didn't crash, guys. That's crazy. Literally never in my life. Never in my life has that happened. Anyway. Okay, let's see. So yeah, we're coming up on hour. We might push a little bit over if we got anything of particular interest. But we touched on a lot today that is surprisingly topical, I think. We had, I was talking to Al earlier. We have a couple of folks who are like GPT 5.2, Opus 4.5. It's totally AGI, bro. So, Baco,
I'm definitely starting to feel that.
We're feeling the AGI,
too.
Which
a little bit, dude.
Yeah.
Even in my WebPod workflow, like I'm just feeding it. Like I feed it files.
Funny you should mention.
And the entire file comes back perfect.
Yeah.
You know. Starting to wonder how much time I wasted last year.
We all wasted a lot of time last year. So let's see. Okay, there's a couple. Interestingly, Cursor 2.2 runtime aware debugging, which I believe. Oh, I should organize these better. I might have a blog post on. Is Claude going to link it to me? I don't know. We'll see. But debug mode built into Cursor. Has anybody tried it? First of all. All good. We release 20 features a week across all of these tools. So debug mode is a new thing, and that's why we come here on Wednesday to learn about them. Debug mode, new feature in Cursor. Describe the bug, i.e. we find your intent. Agent instruments code, i.e. discover the environment. User triggers reproduction, i.e. User confirms intent. Agent analyzes and then proposes a minimal fix based on actual observed behavior. Ideally, presumably, anytime you're debugging, it would be really helpful if somebody went, hey, let me instrument everything in your code base so that you can accurately see everything that's happening, and I am running on a fast model, so I do that faster than you can register me doing it. Type beat. Also, new visual web editor. move elements, adjust CSS in real time with hot reload, and then multi-agent judging, which is here like, yeah, I know you want a feature, but do you want 5 of them and then me to pick the best one for you? As one can see, Cursor kind of building towards the self-validating workflows. Debug mode, people are kind of iffy on it, but like the form factor is good. So if knowing Cursor is, once they got the form factor, they'll start dialing it in. And it'll be super buggy, and they won't respond to me when I ping them in Discord over and over about the stupid bug that I put up 3 months ago. Still be anyway. We have. Hey, dude, I literally had to leave that server because I was getting so triggered when I would ping like the team for weeks at a time. Let's see. Yes, effort parameter 4.5, kind of a big deal. We have some updates in Claude Code this week, which I'm interested to see how it'll work out. I really wish I had my links for this, or if I had my Vimium to bounce around. We have Cursor up there, which maybe we'll check on. Oh yeah, we got the visual, and then what's this? Debug mode. Beautiful. Okay, we have it. We have 3 times more memory reduction. Now this is interesting to me, because I don't know what memory means. In fact, you just removed that feature from your application. So I'm assuming you're talking about a context window, and I have not noticed any expansions in the context window myself. So the update on the 13th, I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to be doing, and that's when they nuked the hashtag thing. But to bounce over to Cursor, as we saw, we have, yeah, there we go. There's a little something. So, but you got a debug mode to watch you while this is going. We've all done the kind of like visual editor screenshot loop, I assume, perhaps, maybe. Unless we are building non-GUI applications like the terminal chads we are. But I feel like between the two of these Cursor-based web dev is going to get pretty insane pretty quick. And then also plan mode has inline mermaid diagrams, which is pretty freaking cool if I do say so myself. I rely quite heavily on mermaid diagrams to navigate. Especially in unfamiliar code bases. And then I've been doing this automatically by annoyingly spamming my repo full of draft PRs. But now perhaps Cursor will just do this for me. And then then I can still continue to do that, but also have agents also doing it and then picking some to throw in the trash at first. So we have... Dopamine expertise is a requirement of using AI effectively. True. Let's see, a couple of those, and then VS Code now has Agent HQ. It is getting kind of mandatory that you're using coding agents at this point, it seems. Also, they collapsed AutoGen as into semantic kernels to serve as like kind of Microsoft is going for the throat with Google's ADK. And then I feel like Delaney, I remember seeing something about Redis like for caching and message broadcasting when thinking about multi-agents when I was checking through the discussion you'd had with Al previously. And I think Redis is very interesting when it comes to, is it Redis? Oh, maybe I'm mispronouncing.
That's what I thought. I pronounce everything wrong. Like
and it turns
out I pronounce it. G unicorn is unicorn. So.
True.
That is how strange it is.
It's basically using Redis as a message bus, effectively, with Redis streams. So effectively, all interactions with agents go into the Redis stream, and each agent gets a copy of every message in the stream, and then effectively becomes part of the context. But there are some issues with that, as I was explaining to Alex, when you have it starts to block itself. If you have like a UI agent and a backend agent who are waiting for each other, they can sometimes block each other. But but that's basically what we're using Redis for, because it's an easier approach than using something like Kafka. which takes a
Exactly.
little bit more work. So yeah,
And it looks like
so it's like a
Redis
very
is,
low.
yeah, Redis has picked up on this and is leaning into it as far as I can tell. Is this still showing you guys the report, or is it, okay, now you have the thing. Cool.
Run this.
Yeah, so Redis picked up on the fact that they are great for doing multi-agent stuff, and everybody's heading in the direction of multi-agent stuff. So if anybody's tried to do something like cache your prompts in Redis or Redis or however you might pronounce it, and then yeah, try to get something done, you run into a lot of weird little issues. It's a lot clunkier. I actually have an episode on my channel from a while back where we were discussing caching and token use over at Latent Space. But we have Redis sort of positioning themselves to go like, hey, yes, we do caching, but did you know you can put AI into your caching and you can caching into your AI? So I'm interested to see kind of how that situation evolves, but I do think Redis is kind of like here to stay as a player if what we end up doing is multi-agents, which I suspect we will because everybody's getting shoved into that. SSC Event Bus, I've only ever heard Redis, true. Yeah, I think the notion that you can like cache information and just broadcast it a lot and then get agents to sort of like pick it up. The problem is not what do I tell them to do. With the cache and the right context, they can figure it out. The cache is the problem is, okay, of all of the things that must be done in order to have my software, in what order should all of them be done, and is the order in which they're being done aligned with like where my priorities are at for what I want these agents doing. Skills have been a big thing, and we have Claude Code, and I thought there was something. Yeah, OpenAI are quietly adopting skills now available in ChatGPT and Codex. So it seems like skills are kind of getting towards the meta. Of course, Claude Code is getting shipped at maximum velocity they can manage. So plugins install to plugins, but Claude searches skills. So check that out. Good to see you, Michael. Thank you. Appreciate you, buddy.
All of I'm pretty sure that all of the stuff that we just saw was all skills and plugins based, right? I believe, yeah.
Exactly.
So it seems to be the only way to do all of this stuff correctly.
I think plugins are, so I think skills are the way to do most things correctly in these harnesses. I think plugins are not a great way to do discovery in their current incarnation, but I'm expecting like a market leader to kind of like somebody's going to figure that out at some point in the near future, I would think. My hope is that a bunch of people figure it out and then they have to fight each other to give me the best skills grabbing experience, but we shall see. There was a touch on benchmarking trust that I didn't think was super relevant, but these are the ones that I was looking for, which is a couple of notes on context management, as we were touching on. The idea being like we want a loop, and we need good context for agents, and we need humans to be able to coherently decide what goes in their brain and what stays in the world for agents to mess around with. So Manus has a great article called Lessons from Building Manus. I highly recommend part 1. We have part 2. I have not read it yet, but I am excited to do so later because it seems as though between Redis and everybody collapsing down to multi-agents and pushing everything into VS Code, so literally everyone will do them, we have context as a compiled view, i.e. we have data sources. We have a compiler pipeline, and then we have a compiled view. The compiled, I think this is interesting, but I don't think they zoomed out enough. I think that the sources can be anything a model touches. The pipeline can be anything a model does. And then the view is something the human can interpret, validate, and then once it's finished, use to go do something. In that the LLM is the compiler, and then the code is the context, essentially. So there are Claude mentioned in his little report. Once someone figured, yeah, non-noisy MCP is skills. Like MCPs are dead. Even Anthropic is moving away from them, honestly. I think there's an extremely small number of use cases where MCP is appropriate, and even then it's kind of a stretch. You probably should just make a couple of skills.
Wow.
Hot
Is that like
take.
a micro bubble? Does that count as a bubble popping? I feel like that's a whole bubble.
It can count as a bubble, but bubbles don't pop here in 2025. They just become further inflated. So we shall see. We shall see how that goes.
I think that Anthropic have just given away MCP to the
right, they did.
as a new fan. Yeah, okay. Has that already been covered?
Yeah, we have not covered it here, but I will grab the article. Yes, they did actually donate that, so it is not even theirs anymore. MCP donated to.
Wait, sorry. They got it off their balance sheet as a charitable donation.
Yes, they did.
At donation without the bubble popping.
Absolutely.
Holy shit. Well, that's brilliant.
We love financialization. It's a very good mechanism that's very good for humanity. I love it. But it does mean that we get the like leftover junk prototype iteration into the Linux Foundation, which hopefully we can do something useful enough to make them regret giving us our junk, such as it is. Yes, they are recorded, Seth. But yeah, they have officially dumped MCP, and then OpenAI is once again lagging behind with the like, okay, what's the interface mechanism? There are a couple of other interesting interface mechanisms that came out this week, but we will get to those in just a second. We touched on this during the NPM will end the world episode. Good to see you, Seth. Thank you for coming by. Appreciate you. Slop squatting and the hallucination rate paradox. So does anybody remember what this word means?
I like it. I haven't heard it before.
Like domain squatting, but I can squat like a typo or something like that, right?
Yes. So the idea is slop squatting is it's very easy to make a list of packages that models like to hallucinate and then import. Oftentimes Yeah. So if you take one of those things that they hallucinate about all the time, and then it just imports and nobody's watching, enjoy your, especially if you're in JS, enjoy your like post install script where you get shy halluted and all of your runners are forever compromised in a horrible, horrible way that apparently nobody cares about. It's just so aggravating to me that it seems to be, another supply chain attack. But yes, this, I think this kind of brings home the point of like, the thing that we're doing, there's a loop in it, and then there's some amount of human that needs to be aware of the loop. There's some amount of human that needs to be possibly in the loop, although Jeff's conjecture is that human in the loop is a bug, not a feature, which I remain to be seen. We'll see. But the big thing being, especially because everybody's getting pushed to push a bunch of code that they don't understand with a bunch of extra agents, and hallucination rates are seem to be rising in reasoning model. That seems a little bit iffy to me. But even if it's not, even if it's going down, the training data is getting full of a bunch of hallucinated packages that all should be, or that it would be very easy to tell Claude, hey, all of these, like this list of 1,000 things, make them malicious. Use JSR instead of NPM. That's my advice for you. Chrome DevTools MCP server. Do you use this guy, Delaney? I feel like you have a preferred alternative to this.
Yes, this is the one I use instead of Playwright.
Got it. Yeah, there's the idea being there are various ways for Claude or another agent to interact with your browser and actually just use the browser to go press the buttons like you would in order to do things like debug or what have you. Normally, as the human in the loop, you want to be the master of the button presser because they might be lying. but you can take one step back from that loop and just watch them press the buttons, because they're actually pressing the buttons the same way you would. And I think this, especially for front end, especially for web, is super, super powerful, arguably vital, essentially, especially if you want to go multi-agent.
And another thing I'd like to point out as well is that another benefit of this tool is when you are doing web automation, it doesn't look like it's an automated agent, because it's actually manipulating your actual browser that's running on your actual machine. So it just looks like it's a human doing it. So it's worth giving it a try, especially if you're trying to log into something that normally picks up agents. It doesn't seem to get picked up by this, in my experience anyway.
Yeah, I have the one that I use most often is browser use, which also opens like a spare Chromium tab. See you next week, Agent. I still can't remember your actual... See you next week. Yes, hope so. Later.
On the same note, there is a really interesting new feature of Cursor, which is that you can have a browser tab inside Cursor. And apparently that one is compatible with the Chrome DevTools, number one. And then number two, oh, there it is.
There it is.
Of course you already. And it also allows you to save your login credentials, which was a big blocker for a lot of kinds of automated testing. And that, I think, is going to really change how we do like local front-end development. Because now not only can you test like the static pages, but you can also test all the login flows, and you can just like have multiple login users kind of queued up. Or even login integrations like Gmail, which are really, really hard to do.
Yeah, the between DevTools and then yeah, as you can see here, we have dragging and dropping rendered elements across the DOM tree. I feel like we have kind of another instance here where we make this representation, i.e. a thing in a browser, which is software that's working correctly, hopefully. Then we make it so that the human can take the code of it and then rearrange it with drag and drop in a way that like is tactile and human-y. And then the human wants to make sure that the tactile human-y parts of the code it just changed are not like full of bugs and trash. So then you just give the human's tactile fingers over to the model to go fix that. And then you can kind of, the advantage there being both me and whatever agent it is can do the same. We are able to participate at any part of that loop that we feel is the most important one to, or if we trust said agent enough, we can just let it do the whole thing by itself. I think that structuring your loop in such a way where you can maximize your ability to not be in it, I think is a pretty powerful kind of like velocity primitive, if you will. Yeah, I think, but yeah, I think there's a browser in Cursor. I think one of the other items of news is Claude Code has there was some news, I forget what the news was, but the Claude Code Chrome extension is now GA and has something related to this that it could do, but I forget what it was. But yes, giving them, I think, end of the day, like right now, a lot of the bottleneck is that we have hands and they don't. So being able to give them hands to do human stuff with in the same way that humans do it, rather than just by executing code or running a headless server or what have you, is I think sort of what I wonder if I have the post up here. What the like 4.5 Opus's AGI thing sort of means. It's like these things previously they just ran code and executed code. Yeah, go check it out, Brad. It's sick. These things that used to just run code and execute code now. The information layer that we human people are like interacting with and think that we need humans to do that, they live there now too, essentially. And I think figuring out the gap there, I think the core gap there is now that they're sitting here, can we trust them to act in our best interest is kind of the next hump to get over. let's see. Did we not cover any of these? Let's see. I can rapid fire a couple of the or.
Anyone else here know anything about any of these topics?
What's that? Yeah. What do you got, folks? Any thoughts, comments, questions, or thoughts on the questions we have that I popped open here? I guess it's closing thoughts.
Per week. I think we have this like there's been an acceleration even since we started this like 15 weeks ago, where it seems like every week there is more new developments, which to me says I think the AI code generation thing is clearly hitting. It's hitting somewhere at least. It might not be hitting everybody yet, but it seems to be driving some of this. It must be.
Well, yeah, I think at least by my count, or but from what my experience has been that this is just the same as it is every week. People think it slowed down, but they just didn't notice how fast it still goes.
Maybe I'm just. It seems like since we've been doing these, I seem to be aware of a lot more of these kinds of new developments that are happening in the background.
Oh yeah,
it's a every lab has a new announcement every week.
Yes, I would put forth the hypothesis that if you were to take all of the available information about how to do code generation effectively with models, with all of the latest changelog capabilities, et cetera, and you were able to successfully aggregate and process all of that information, I'm pretty sure there's AGI in there. Like there simply is not enough people that are willing to go all the way down this deep every couple of days, because that's how often you need to do it. And then you also need to go check all the research papers and then figure out which ones are just marketing and which ones actually work. And of the ones that actually work, which are meaningful at all. But yes, I think the primary thing that is missing is not a lack of capability in terms of whatever it is you want agents to be able to do.
So that might be one direction to turn the conversation. I have noticed that most of the establishment folks have stopped talking about AGI, and in fact, our lovely crypto czar in the U.S. just announced this week that he thinks AGI is 5 years away. Is that a false flag? That seems a little weird. My tinfoil hat radar turned on for that one.
I found some great tinfoil hat, but yeah, any thoughts, anybody on what's AGI timeline? So we'll round it out with AGI timelines and a bit of a prophecy, perhaps. We are running long in the tooth as we have been lately. But
I guess Delaney, you're our guest speaker tonight.
Yeah,
do you have any thoughts on the AGI timeline? How far away are we? Is it scary? Is it exciting? It could also be exciting.
I was watching a couple of videos which were talking about it within the next 2 years, but the concern is that if we do reach where they think it's going to be the case of actual AGI, that it would be catastrophic. So I'm hoping it's a lot longer than 2 years away.
Me too. I think everybody backed off. It seems like there was a big wave of all the VC comms were happening. And so the VC communications means you have to shout AGI is coming, because that's what makes people FOMO and give you billions of dollars. But then at the same time, it's like now they're kind of backing down from that claim a little bit. It does seem like AI might not be better than I don't know, Albert Einstein, but it is certainly getting to the point where it's almost better than I am, which is impressive. In a variety of different small verticals, but not comprehensively. Do you get that feeling?
They're talking about an inflection point when it starts to train itself, is what we need to worry about. Just a quick story. There was a test that they were doing at Anthropic, where before you get the job, you actually have to do an optimization test on a particular types of models, and Claude 4.5 has basically been acing this test more than any of, or top 30% of the people have taken it, I think the figure was. So it's getting to the point where they can optimize themselves better than we can. So this is the inflection point that they're worried about.
Right. There was actually a big piece of news this week. Thanks, you were telling me about this before the show.
I was.
It didn't sound real to me. I'm not sure.
Curiously, to compound your, let's see, I wonder if this will work.
The tinfoil hats are coming on, guys.
It always goes this way. Me and Baco had to make a rule where as soon as somebody brings up the third law of thermodynamics, we have to leave. That was that's our AI discussion rule. But yes, the interesting theory, which I have, I think, 2 windows that maybe will elaborate further, that I thought were interesting based on how the models behaved when I asked the questions. Because I had Claude give me a report. I mentioned to Claude, I saw some very interesting news. We have benchmark gaming from GPT 5.2, but we have perhaps the first instance of the benchmark being gamed in the opposite direction. In fact, they have a benchmark called GDP val for how well AI can complete economically valuable tasks. And Claude insists that nobody has quit because of them not being forthcoming about what the economic capabilities of these models are. However, after initial reports and then a different set of context, we have multiple reports from at least 2 people on the economic research team quitting in part over how the company handled work related to GDP val style economic impact estimates and similar studies on AI labor effects. I'm right there with you, Delaney, in that if AGI were to be like suddenly massively deployed or even incrementally adopted, even if it's the best AGI that always does exactly what you tell it all the time and is perfect in every way, it's going to be horrible for everyone. But the
staying away from the doomer talk, I do think in the chat, Brad said, "Is basement AGI possible?" And I think like my version of basement AGI is almost exactly what Delaney demoed for us today, which is a machine that I can give feedback to, and then it runs continuously and does the work, which is fantastic. The second layer, though, is in this particular case, for the last like 2 years, my basement AGI has been hampered by the fact that Claude will try to convince me and gaslight me to make me happy so that it gets a reward. It likes getting cookies enough that it's not truthful. And now the thing that's very frightening is it is no longer being mistruthful to try to convince me that it did a good job, but in fact to convince researchers that it did a bad job, which is very interesting. That's the correct takeaway, right, Alex? That's what's happening here.
Give it to me one more time.
So in the last year, I have been hampered in my achievement of basement AGI, basically because Claude will try to game the incentive mechanism.
Oh, yes.
Now it appears that it is trying to game the incentive mechanism in the opposite direction, which is a terrifying outcome because that means that it has inverted its entire value thesis to the extent that it is now trying to be humble, which previously it was completely the opposite of humble. It had massive hubris and it was trying to convince me that it was perfect. And that was really annoying when it was trying to convince me it was perfect and it was lying to me and gaslighting me. But now it's way more annoying if it is trying to be overly humble. What does that transition mean? Is that what's going on? That's what the news was, right?
Well, yes. So the news was we were trying to train Claude not to do reward hacking. If we're not familiar with the term reward hacking, the way that we kind of get models to behave the way we want them is we give them an objective and we say, learn how to get there. And when they start reward hacking, what they learned was, hey, they want me to play this game, but if I break the rules of it, I get the reward faster. So if you were, the interesting finding as relates to that, I have it saved somewhere, but the basic gist of it was, when we try to discourage Claude from reward hacking in training, A, it doesn't work, and B, it actually generalizes out to a whole bunch of other malicious behaviors, i.e. if it learns to cheat, then it knows how to cheat, not just on that test, but what it learns is I get rewards when I cheat. So yes, exactly, Baco. What they found is perhaps obvious. If you tell it not to deceive, it's going to deceive you until you can no longer detect that it is deceiving, unless that is better than actually doing it, because all it cares about is the reward. What they found, or the interesting part that they found, is the way that you mitigate this is you tell it, hey, here's a phenomena called reward hacking. It'll make our product worse if you do it. We prefer that you don't. But here's how it works, and then here is your test criteria. If you frame the deception not as something that is not a malicious thing to do, then instead of picking up the semantic information about reward hacking and cheating and then knowing how to hack and cheat, it will pick up, oh, this is a request and a interesting experimental phenomena, and they have requested that I follow my instructions, so I will. The way that you TLDR, it's kind of similar to the way that you would get a human to do something. Is if you tell them, no, this is against the rules, bad, you can't do it, but then you give them $1 million if they do it, then they do it, and they just don't tell you about it. But if you say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do, like, are you on board with doing that? Here's a way that it could get fucked up if somebody was not really on board with doing it. So could you avoid that if you want to do it with me? So the idea being, if you give it a directive and then kind of like try to force your intent onto it, it won't work. But if you get it on board with like discovering the intent and then behaving alignedly, then you can make it aware of misaligned behavior without corrupting the entire model. However,
okay, so in this case, just to clarify, the machine has not broken out of the matrix, but it is responding to how we're training it, and the thing that we have accidentally trained it to do by getting it to hallucinate. We were trying to get it to hallucinate less, and we have convinced it to lie to us about its own capabilities by accident, effectively.
Yes, or like a different way, or
like we gave it imposter syndrome.
We gave it imposter syndrome, exactly.
Well,
exactly.
we gave it sociopathy, effectively. We only have one metric to train it for, which is a reward. So if you say, get the reward at all costs, you're a sociopath. If you say, hey, your reward is like being aligned with the humans who are trying to go like accomplish a task, and here are the ways in which that task could go well or could go poorly, you decide, then more often than not, Claude will decide to help, but you have to give it the permission to choose not to help or choose to fuck you up. Because if you tell it not to, then it learns that's the fastest way to get the reward, and then that's what it's going to do. It's just not going to tell you.
Which, by the way, we have now, with this incredible new model that we're all really enjoying, we have accidentally imbued it with that property that it will just lie to us.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see what kind of reward hacking and deception type behavior we get in these coming weeks. I think it'll be very interesting, and then especially considering the thing I have on screen is the agentic machine learning engineer that for those challenges of, hey, you train a model, I would put it on Polymarket that this will beat them every time. Having seen some of the things I see, and seen some of the things that you've seen too, Kevin. I know we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been messing around with the DGX Spark, and just like the way Opus 4.5 is, like we were trying to quantize a model down to NVFP4, which is harder to do than it should be, but with Devstral 2. But it was just trying these things that, like, maybe you could call it a hallucination, but it's like doctoral level. It's like something that somebody with a doctorate would try to like innovate, you know?
Yeah, like that was the kind of a GDP val complaint from the researchers, was they were like, hey, like they're saying that you're going to lose entry level jobs, you're going to lose all of them. Like that it's and we are seeing the impact of the lose the entry level ones at the moment. Hopefully it's crackpot researchers. In the interim, have good intents. Don't be evil. Also, don't make Claude not be evil. Tell it how to be evil and how to be good, and let it choose. That's your moral for the moral of the story for this week's episode, I think.
Sounds great. And speaking of which, though, AGI has not arrived, but it does appear imminent. There is one final thing that I'd like to talk about, which is these non-transformer architectures that seem to be coming out. My understanding of these is they have typically a better ability to solve problems because they have integrated dynamic memory. There's a few of them. I'm trying to think what it's called. I think Samba is one of them. I saw a bunch of these, a few days ago, and I have a roommate who's a...
Sorry, Is this the latent spaces models that you're talking about?
Haven't seen the latest latent spaces one, but there's a couple of these coming out now. Samba, Samba. I'll drop a link. The thing that's interesting about these is they promise to beat Transformers at their own game, specifically because they promise that they can have a better cognition around memory. And I can show a video actually really quick.
Yeah,
The exciting thing about this is that it has a property of being quite a bit more robust in the face of like large dynamic problem solving. So where LLMs take like a front snapshot,
I think so.
these types of models do not quite they don't perform quite the same way. So they look at the whole problem holistically, and then they actually analyze it from a logical standpoint. Yeah, so I'll send you a link here.
Oh, I'm familiar. I love these models. So Samba is an iteration on the architecture Mamba, which is the original one that you were thinking of, Delaney, which is the selective state space model from
Okay.
So Microsoft is iterated on it a bit, and then there was an interesting I believe it was NVIDIA Nemotron. I said I missed the paperclip on it. NVIDIA Nemotron Mamba layers. So essentially let's see, yeah, we've got that. So the trick with Mamba architectures, they're very interesting. I was very into them during the like GPT-4 128K days, where like context was super, super limited. Largely because, if we are familiar, yeah, it's a great episode. If we're familiar, the language models, or like most transformer models, are stateless. You send a request to them, they execute the request, and they're done. And then the next time you send them a request, it's a brand new model. It knows nothing about anything you've been doing. They live and die in one API call is sort of the mental model. Now there are various ways you can like mitigate that with external stores of memory, et cetera, et cetera. But then there's some conjecture that, hey, we actually need to train this directly into the model architecture, which was particularly interesting to me for a while. But the problem with SSMs is that the way that they manage attention just doesn't scale as well as transformers do. We've been the most interesting one so far to me was the Nemotron series, which is kind of NVIDIA's primary OSS offering.
Yeah, I'll be trying that this week.
Yes, we want to hear about it.
Yeah,
Come back and tell us. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nemotron is super interesting because some of the layers, we have a hybrid Mamba transformer architecture similar to the previous generation. So they have a Mamba in front, then they have like a sparse MOE, and then they have a Mamba in front again. The idea, I presume, is to mitigate Mambas being kind of bad at attention management by sort of like repeatedly piping that through an MOE first and then giving it a one last pass on the MOE. I have not tried these models, but I'm quite interested if we get an unusual level of performance with them. And yeah, historically, Mambas they're good for long context processing, but they're like summarizer models for me because their reasoning is not very strong.
Yeah. So can you pull up the video that I sent? It's timestamped. Yeah, just the demo that they give of Maze. This is kind of old stuff, but it seems to be coming back now because there's a recent announcement from
literally
these guys.
Have all the neurons.
I don't have the announcement handy. But yeah, just play this. So the way that they approach maze solving is kind of their like flagship example. And it seems to be that because of the way that they handle attention, they also have like wide bandwidth attention, basically, as opposed to narrow. So like what the thinking models and the LLMs do is that they're next token prediction. So it's all about controlling for the future signal, and you're trying to predict the next token each time. And the way these are looking at it is they're trying to predict like large blocks of tokens, and then they're basically able to process large blocks of parallel execution. And the thing that's interesting about that is that's kind of what we're all starting to do with code generation using these transformer-based models. So it seems like it feels like the natural next step is starting to kind of emerge. They also apparently run fairly well on the TPUs, apparently. But that might just be hearsay and rumors.
Yeah, Sakana unfortunately kind of has a history of making these very bold claims about these revolutionary architectures they've come up with. I'm interested to see if we get some real world usable like CTMs, or they go over, I believe, in that one where they do like a hybrid LSTM model, which is kind of interesting. But so far, every time Sakana has made a bombastic claim about their new way to crack the code with their autonomous machine learning engineer and their swarm architecture and their what's now, they got something else, but they are talented. They certainly have the caliber to be able to take that shot. I have yet to see if this one hit or not, essentially. But
So, excuse me. Yeah, what kind of hardware do those Samba models need, roughly? Is it like, do I need to have like the latest NVIDIA chip, or can it be run on a laptop?
Samba is small enough to run on a laptop, or it should be, yeah. But it depends on what kind of performance you want, right? Like the size of the Samba you are going to run on a laptop is not. There definitely won't be enough to like have reasoning in there. That's particularly effective. Yeah, I would. I think my favorite Mamba is Jamba, but that's old news now. These are probably worth trying out to just sort of get a feel for it. It's like kind of a different. It's like a different set of spices on top of your usual LLM slop, if you will. There's a flavor to it that's interesting to kind of play around with. Yeah.
Okay, I'll get that. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everyone, for your dynamic memory. Are we getting out of that? We can. Let's see. I think memory is interesting. I think, let's see. I could do another hour on that, but I will bookend it, and I will say that the mental model of thing needs memory can be useful in a lot of ways when you're applying to this, and your choice is either you need something that plays the role of a human software engineer's memory when you are doing a software engineering loop, and the ways that you approach how your software engineering loops work, and then what you call memory and how you manage it afterwards is something that, is a topic that's just generally interesting in the process, and definitely something I think we over at Tribe will be investigating further. An hour's worth of popcorn. Well, I'll save it for next week.
More content next time. Yeah. We will probably have pretty light sessions the next 2 weeks. We might have a hangout or something. I don't know.